Hi, this is Coach Ike. Let's talk about why I stopped doing oral conscious sedation. It's because some of these crazy little experiences. Husband almost let patient who was sedated drive home. He thought it was funny because he was a jokester. If his wife would have got into trouble, guess what? I would have been dragged into it. The titration of oral conscious sedation is a lot different than IV sedation, and sometimes it affects patients differently. We had one patient who was very calm and mild but very fearful of the dentist, and when we sedated him, he got very angry and he wanted more sedation medication. And so we were at that point where we had reached the maximum dose and we were giving him placebo sugar packets, but he was getting very, very angry. A nurse who we did oral conscious sedation on tried to get her money back because she felt that the sedation wasn't adequate. Yet we were able to get the work done. She contacted us with a few very ugly letters. We responded very nicely and told her that it is oral conscious sedation. She didn't stop there. She actually filed a complaint with her credit card company. The credit card company did a chargeback and wanted evidence about the procedure, and we had all the documents signed and everything, so we sent that. After the credit card company evaluated the whole process, they determined that everything was okay, and they gave the feedback to us. Maybe the nurse was under the impression that this was a complete sedation where she's knocked out, but we had informed her prior to this. We don't have too many ex-drug users, but we do have some who have came in throughout the years, and trying to sedate an ex-user is very challenging because their system is totally off. They're used to a lot of drugs. Now their body needs a lot more sedation medication. We had one patient with this issue, and we had to give him 4 times as much as the normal adult. I was kind of nervous because 4 times is a level where you want to be ready with the CPR and the AED, but luckily he was fine. It was just his tolerance was so much higher than the average person. One of the challenges is that when the caretakers take the patients from our office, the caretakers are really busy with their lifestyles and they have things to do. And not every time is a spouse or a significant other. So the medication stays in the patient's body for the entire day. Now, what does the caretaker do for the rest of the day? Let's say we have a patient at 10 a.m. and we finish at 12 or 1 p.m. The medication is inside this patient's body until the rest of the day. But what happens usually, the caretaker drops them off at their home and the caretaker leaves because they have errands or work or other obligations they got to take care of. We had one such patient. She was a single female who had her own business and she needed some work, so we did the sedation on her. Instead of having somebody who's a family for her, she asked one of her employees, a male employee, to come and help her out. That was fine for us, but imagine if the male employee took advantage of her or something happened between them. Guess what? I would have been dragged into this. Sedation patients need constant monitoring for the entire day. So whoever takes them home needs to be there until the sedation medication wears off. Sedation dentistry was a hype 15 years ago. I still remember going to San Francisco to the class so I can get certified. It was amazing because there's a lot of people. I think there was over 200 people getting certified for that event, and the cost was close to $2,000, and they were also selling equipment and they had a live patient. So it was a great feeling because they made you feel wonderful when you're amongst all these great doctors who want to do sedation dentistry. As I start doing sedation dentistry, I found out some challenges that the educational people did not inform us. The cost of maintaining the sedation license is half of the regular dental license. Sedation brings about 2% of our annual revenues. A dental license brings in about 80%, 85%. I'm not including the hygiene visits. A dental license is much more powerful because you can do a lot of stuff, while the sedation license, it's half the cost of a dental license, but you're limited by what you can do. Every 2 years, we have to go to a recertification course, and it's a whole day event. The last time I went, it cost me close to $1,200 for the course, plus room, transportation, and how to get there. So the whole weekend is pretty much shot when I go to these courses. The funny thing is, it's the same outline that has been given year after year. Nothing's really changed. This means that we have to go to this course every 2 years, sit through a boring lecture that we have heard of it many, many times, and at the end, you come out with the same binder that you did 2 years ago. If you think about it, the course is overpriced, and I'll tell you why. There are no hands-on, there are no special equipment, there's nothing that this course brings that is justified for them to charge this much. So in my opinion, this is a $200 course that is marked up because of the requirements of getting the sedation license. Last time I went to an oral conscious sedation recertification class was only 25% full. And normally these classes are full in advance. So when I went there, I saw one of my friends. I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I think this is going to be my last time to do oral conscious sedation. Look, there's nobody here. And I looked around and he was right. I think what it was is because the high cost of attending this class, plus you get really no extra fees for doing oral conscious sedation. So there's less and less dentists who want to do it now. The fees and the regulations have gone up for this sedation license. There are more requirements that we got to do in order for us to maintain the oral conscious sedation license. Let's talk about insurances and payments. Insurance does not pay you more whether the patient is sedated or not. Crown fee is crown fee. What you can charge is the oral conscious sedation fee, but guess what? Most insurances don't pay for this, so the patient pays out of their pocket. Patients hate paying for stuff out of their pocket. In metropolitan areas where there's a lot of competition, a lot of dentists waive the sedation fees in order to get the cases in. Before, you can charge $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, or whatever. Your next door neighbor is giving it for free. You're not going to beat free. So patients are going to go to that dentist because they do provide the free service. Let's talk for a minute the patients who like to be sedated. Usually these patients are very phobic. They're very stressful because they hate coming to the dental office. They're extremely, extremely fearful. And guess what? The stressful patients bring the stress to the office. So when we accept sedation cases, we accept the stress. And the stress affects us emotionally and physically. So what happens when a sedation case does not work out? Let's say you're doing a crown prep and for one reason or another, it doesn't work out. You have to bring the patient back, you have to sedate them, usually at no charge, and you have to do the work all again. Remember, this is a stressed and fearful patient. Usually when I work on these types of patients, I get stressed too because they're always on the edge. So in summary, sedation patients bring a lot of challenges to the office, a lot of stress in the office. I have decided that it's not worth dealing with so much stress because the revenues of a sedation patient is not high enough. It doesn't justify the headache of dealing with them. After doing oral conscious sedation for over 15 years, I am retiring my hat of sedation cases. One patient I told the other day that we're going to stop doing sedation dentistry soon, and he tells me and says, Doc, I waited 20 years to see you, and I want to get all the work done. So what I'll do is I'll drink beforehand and come in. I appreciated the fact that he has confidence in my abilities. He's a very stressful patient, and I do not want to deal with stress in my life. Running a dental office is already challenging, and it gets challenging as time passes. So why deal with stressful cases? If you like sedation dentistry and you've been doing it, you're enjoying it, and it's not stressing you out, and you're comfortable with the fees that it brings in. Maybe you live in an area where there's a lot of sedation patients and they are willing to pay the sedation fee. And maybe your fees are high enough where you can compensate for the stressful patients who come into your office. Whatever the case is, if you like doing sedation dentistry, oral conscious sedation, please do it. You're a doctor, you run your own office, do the things that makes you happy. In my humble opinion, the challenges and all the stresses that come with oral conscious sedation and the types of medications that we administer is not worth the compensation, is not worth the headache. I think IV sedation is a much safer route for the patients to go to because you can control their sedation level very easily. Thank you for watching. This is Coach Ike. Make it a great day.